All right. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I'm Sam Woodruff. I am the president of the very new Woodbridge Art Guild. And I'm also the program director for the arts at 10 Selden, which is a nonprofit organization here in Woodbridge, Connecticut. I know some of you guys are not from Connecticut, and we have people from all over. So it's a nonprofit, and we're formerly known as the Amity Teen Center, but we've expanded our programming to include a visual arts program as well. So before COVID, we were doing tons of paint nights and a lot of in-person lessons and summer programming. And now we're doing everything virtually. And so you'll see there are a bunch of murals behind me on the wall, and I picked an artsy place to set up. So we have a website if you're interested in checking us out. 10 Selden, that's the number 10, SELDEN.org. And that is actually where we are hosting the Woodbridge Art Guild from. So Woodbridge Art Guild, once COVID is over and we're not virtual anymore, we will be meeting from here. So tonight we have Carole Abbate, and she is going to be doing a lesson on secrets to better painting. So she's focusing on composition, and it is going to be a lecture-based lesson. So she did have some pieces that she wanted to share as I'm talking about her. I'm going to do a little bio, and she's going to go through and just show you some of her paintings that she felt had very strong compositions to go along with the material for the lesson. So a little bit about Carole, although I see some of you already know her pretty well. She has been painting for 35 years, on and off, as she says, in a variety of techniques, different media. And she studied under Stan Miller, who is now an internationally known watercolorist. And that was back in the 80s. I love that one with the Christmas tree. It's so pretty. So she actually did a lot of showing her work, and she received a lot of awards in the Western art arena. She works in acrylic oils and pastels. And her inspiration, as you can tell from a lot of the paintings that she's showing, are nature and animals, which she's had plenty of over the years. She sent me a list of some of the animals that she used to have on her farm. Horses and donkeys, llamas, alpacas, dogs, cats, pigs. I don't think I even listed them all. So very much inspired by wildlife, the scenic country, you'll see as themed.
Oh, how cute.
And she moved to Connecticut in 2013 and also enjoys painting the scenery and the wildlife here. And you'll see her paintings are very enjoyable to look at, and they really make you feel as the viewer that you're right there. I'll give her a minute just to finish up slides of her composition paintings. And then we can get started. I am going to ask that you mute yourselves and have a question. You can unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat, just so that Carole is able to focus on giving her lesson without any background noise.
Okay, hello, everybody. I think I know at least half of you. This is Secrets to Better Painting, and I want to give credit to Greg Albert that I used a lot of his information here, and he was kind enough to give me written permission to use his book. I got this 17 years ago and have used it quite a bit. I have a picture right there. It's available through Amazon. It's not in print anymore, but you can get a Kindle edition, or you can buy a used one for a fairly good price. Okay, why better composition? And I've got a problem here because some of my, how do I get rid of those? Because
Top left
top,
of this.
oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad I have a tech guy here. Okay, as an artist, we want our paintings to be absolutely captivating. We want to draw in the viewers and never want them to leave. And this is only possible with good, no great composition. So this will give you a basic foundation of some principles to build on and experiment with as you pursue your creative endeavors. Okay, here's the secret. There's one rule of composition, and you're going to hear this over and over again. So I want it drilled in your head. Never make two intervals the same. And this will be repeated and demonstrated throughout this class. First, we go to design dynamics, and I lost just a minute, I got to get my cute little, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So see these 5 pairs of designs? Look down and tell yourself which one is more interesting. And I bet you that the ones that interest you more have the rule, never make 2 intervals the same. I'll give you a hint. Aren't these a little more interesting on the right side than the left? So we'll go into designs, and other design dynamics include visual tension, visual energy, visual weight, dynamics of the frame. We don't have time to go into all of these, so we're going to look at visual tension.
Carol, we have a question. Someone would like to know, what is an interval?
An interval, okay, it is a space, an interval, let me back up. Anytime you have, okay, would you hold that question? Because I will tell you in about 4 slides, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes. All right, we're looking at tension right now. And look at this one on the left. Boring, dull, predictable, okay? This one has less tension, but it's getting more interesting. This one's fairly pleasing. This one has more tension for sure. This one is getting disturbingly chaotic. So what would you want in your paintings? The dullest and most boring designs on the left, or chaotic and distressing on the right? No, you want somewhere in the middle. They're stimulating to the brain, but still pleasing. Now just keep that in mind. And okay, as far as intervals, all right, down here, interval of space. See the space here? It's different. Every place on this picture is a little different. That's an interval between this dot and that dot. Here's another interval between this black triangle and this line. And you'll see this repeated. I just bet you in some of the, is that me back? Am I? Okay. In some of your beginning art classes, you were asked to do a still life, and some artists excel in still lifes. They're easy to maneuver into a pleasing composition. And again, we can use the same rule. Never make any 2 intervals the same, and it works. All right, here are variations of shapes. So you see the flowers, the vase, the fruits, but they're all different shapes, and there's no intervals, meaning this interval here is different shape than this, and so on. This is a little boring. This maybe could have been a pumpkin or maybe a banana somewhere, because you have 3 circles, but at least they're different sizes. Then you need to concentrate on your center of interest. And the flowers, which is the center of interest because it's the brightest area in this painting, is in one of the sweet spots. And I will explain that later. So hold on to that question. And center of interest, I'll also explain later. Now, another thing to remember is you need to lead the eye. So if your eye goes here first, Then it will go down here to this area, probably over here, and then maybe over to here and around. But it keeps the eye entertained. Making things interesting. Again, the one rule of composition, never make any two intervals the same, was followed here with beautiful results. If you look, and this painting I took from the book, and Donald Patterson did this. It's watercolor and gouache on paper. If you'll see the sky, it's gradated down from a dark blue down to a yellow. So there's a difference there. Every shape here is different. Even the tree branches, they're all a little different. It's beautiful painting. And you want to go in there and just stay. And we'll talk about horizons and boundaries. Now, if you have a painting and the horizon is in the middle, that's very boring because your eye is just da 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 da. This is a little more interesting. The land is dominant, the sky is secondary. Again, interesting. And this, at first you think, oh, that's really interesting, but it's in 3 equals. So that can get boring. Here's a good example of a dominant sky and a low horizon. And again, the gradation of the sky colors and the values. Here's another beautiful painting, a high horizon, the dominant foreground. This was by Donald Patterson, watercolor and gouache on paper. I just love this one. I love the colors. Now we're going to talk about dividing space between objects. And that is this another way of saying distance between them. And again, see these are sort of boring because they're all the same distance between each other. This is better. This is best. There's no 2 intervals the same, each one different. Again, varying the width of each. Now here is varying orientation, how they are facing each other. Now here is a real variety. The intervals and the spacing and the way they're slanted. So there's a lot of different ways to make things different. All right, creating interest. Again, that we're talking basic, but you have to have this in your mind so you can build on it. These tops, circle, triangle, square, very boring. These are a little better. These are better yet. And here you have a lot of energy. You've increased the visual energy because there's innies and outies, and it's much more interesting. Here are some common objects and how to make them better. Here's a tree, something you see in a lot of paintings, a little boring. This is better. Uh-oh, I jumped, sorry. I jumped, which way am I going? There, okay. Again, this is the best because you have a variety of branches and foliage. Here's a house. This is something you see, but it's on the boring side. This is better. Has more interest. This is best. Its oblique thrust of the house makes it more dynamic. Again, look at each of these and apply the rule, never make any 2 intervals the same. See up here in this tree, even what's called the negative spaces are of different sizes. Now I'm just going to take a little break, and is everyone following me so far? Anyone out there lost? Okay.
Following you.
Okay. Now we have, how do we create interesting groups, whether it be still life, people, foliage? And in talking about this, I will touch on landscapes very briefly because they're easier. I will go into portraits, but if you just follow this common rule, you'll get it. So look at here, and you have 3 figures, but they're pretty much the same space. This is better. This one's taller, and then the 2 kids off to the side. Again, static because it's 1, 2, 3. This is better. At least it would be better maybe if this glass was standing in front of this bottle. 3 trees, static, boring. Here, at least they're different sizes. Here they're placed better, and here's the best. There's a tree in front of the large one and another little one to the right. Again, one rule of composition: never make 2 intervals the same. It works here. You're going to get sick of me saying this, but you're going to go home and remember it. Now, how to achieve dynamic balance? And you're thinking, what's that? Well, you want things dynamic. You don't want them just static. Otherwise, the painting doesn't sing. So again, we'll explore how the rule, one rule of composition, never make any 2 intervals the same, can be used to create dynamic balance. Too much variation causes a painting to lose unity. Not enough causes a painting to lose interest. Here we have a group which is fairly interesting, but what is clear over to the left? That leaves this area, you don't even want to go there at all. And you want the viewer to cross over the central axis. Think of this as the central axis, and you want the eye to want to go to this side and back again. This is a little better, but it's right in the middle. This is splitting them up, but they're fighting each other because your eye goes bing, bing, bing. Again, this one is too lopsided on the left. This one you're getting a little better. Your eye can go here, there, and around. There's something called the diagonal axis. And again, this one is a diagonal axis, but what are you going to do with all this area? You need the eye to want to go over here. So this is the prize winner. You've got interesting things over here, and you have a reason to move over to this side. Some other dynamic is, you would know that this is static, 2 equally opposed kids on a teeter-totter. This is better. You've got one moved in a little bit. See, it doesn't take much to make it more interesting. This is a symmetrical arrangement right in the middle of the canvas. Not a good dynamic painting. This one is asymmetrical, and it's a little better. It's still centralized. This is static because you've got one piece here and one piece here. This is dynamic. Here you have the tree behind the house and another over here. You might want to jump back a little bit, but this is bigger, so it takes more of your interest. It's up to us as artists to plan the painting so that the viewer is easily led into the painting, and because of a variety of shapes, values, and colors, your eye is entertained and wants to linger. The time to plan this eye entertainment is before you start to paint. So do your homework before you get those paints out. This is a beautiful, action-filled, dynamic painting. Let's see why. Okay, you've got eye magnets. That means where your eye wants to go, bing. And there's two types of eye magnets. Now this can be a little confusing, but just listen. There's the focal point and the center of interest. Your focal point is the spot that attracts the eye because it's visually appealing. Now, where does your eye go here? Probably to about here or here. The eye looking, and it's several reasons why it goes here. The center of interest is the spot that attracts the mind because it's intellectually appealing. So again, right here, this is a story going on right now. That fish is about to have some dinner, or an hors d'oeuvre at least. The fish painting draws your eye right to the fish's mouth, and then it circles around, being entertained by the water splashing. This is beautiful bubbles. And back, the curve of the fish back around. Don't look at this light because that was a reflection when I took the picture. So it goes around here, and it doesn't want to leave. There's, again, look at this painting. There's no two intervals the same. Nowhere. It's a beautiful dynamic painting. Now, even non-representational painting needs a main area of interest to avoid being glorified wallpaper. And you look at this painting and your eye, I just got this off the internet. I have no idea who did this, so forgive me if anyone knows this artist. But my eye does not know where to go. It just flitters around and goes, okay. So non-representational painting is great, but you need something center of interest, and you need it to grab your eye again and to have it move around that paper. So what's the center of interest? It's a magnet for the mind. It could be faces, people, words and numbers, directional symbols, or things in motion like runner, airplane, or flying bird. Now here we have a painting by the author of the book, Carole Abbate, and myself, my eyes immediately go down to the flock of sheep and that shepherd. Now this is fairly loose painting, but you know what they are, and it's done beautifully. And then after you look at the little sheep and the shepherd, you might want to go up here to the clouds and around. Another nice one. This pulls your eye right, zoom, there's the figures. Your eye goes here, it might go around here up to the rocks and around these beautiful little waves coming in. Your eye is entertained. You want to stay here. Now the focal point, as opposed to the point of interest, is a magnet for the eye. It's high contrast. There's concentration of visual energy or detail, or there's bright, intense color, hard edges, a gap in pattern, tangents, intersections, or convergence. And I will give you examples of these. This is high contrast. Where does your eye go? If you're normal, zing, goes right there. Concentration of visual energy. So again, something's happening right here. Bright or intense color. The yellow jumps out. Hard edges. I hope that's not showing up. Hard edges jumps out at you because everything else is soft, hard edges. Gap in a pattern. So here we go. pattern, pattern, pattern. Oops, her eye goes here. Anomalies in pattern. Circle, circle, square. Right there. Tangents. Tangents is when two meet, two objects, two whatever meet. I always call these kissing. Now here's intersections or convergence. And again, your eye, ding, drawn right there. There should only be one dominant feature, one star of your painting. The focal point and the center of interest should be one and the same. If there is more than the one, the eye doesn't know where to go unless you guide it. In other words, there's a lot of these rules that are broken all the time, but you need to know how to work with them, and you need to know that it is happening. All right, how do we place the focal point? Where should it go? Again, one rule of composition, never make any two intervals the same. Here's something called the rule of thirds. This is probably known by any art student, and it's something you just need to know. You divide your paper into thirds, horizontally and vertically. These are called the sweet spots, right in here. Again, if you take one of these spots, it's always different interval to the edge of the paper. So you choose your center of interest to lay near one of the sweet spots, and that's pleasing to the eye. You'll see this demonstrated. Here's a simple still life, and where is the main center of interest, and why does your eye go here? Because it's high contrast, dark to light. And right here, by using our rule of thirds, it's right there in the sweet spot. Another simple painting showing a different sweet spot, and there the house lays. Again, that makes it pleasing to the eye to have it there. Now there's something called directing the eye. We have a focal point in our painting, and you can make your eye go there. This is more like a zoom, and it goes in there. That's very strong. This one's a little more meandering in, but they're both leading the eye, directing the eye. Then there's something called blocks and exits, and you want to avoid leaks and drains. And it sounds like we're into plumbing, but we're not, and you'll see what I mean. You don't want to attract attention to the border. No crowding the corners, no touching edges of the frame or border, and don't have faces looking out of the frame. All right, we're going to tear this picture apart, and this was done by Greg on purpose. Here's this road coming in, and it's going off somewhere there. Here's a mountain going up and out. Your eye wants to go that way. Here's a cloud, and it's right on the edge, so your eye wants to go that way. The fence is going down this way, and the trees, well, I don't know if there's much wrong with that, but there's a lot of imbalance here, and it's not a very comfortable painting. You wouldn't really want to stay in here. Now this is talking about leading, this is simplified, okay? You're leading your eye off the canvas on the border. Don't do this. Here's a portrait, and what's wrong here? He's really looking right out here, and what's all this space? So it's uncomfortable. Here's another painting. These are leaning out, leading your eye off the canvas. All right, here's a good example of good composition. There are actually two eye magnets here, the boy's face and the birdhouse. But he's worked this very, very carefully. Because the eye is naturally attracted to faces, you go here first, but the boy is looking here, so you go here second. And then you travel down here and maybe over to his hammer and up the arm. And so it breaks the rule, but it's overcome because the face is primary, birdhouse secondary. And this is a very entertaining painting. Now we're going to move on to values and contrast, extremely important. The lights and darks in your painting, which are called values, contribute more to your painting's composition than any other factor, including color. I have a plaque on my wall that says, value does the work, color takes the credit. And that means that the highest value contrast, no, excuse me, I said that wrong. Value does the work. If you don't have a painting whose value works, no matter what color you add to it, it's not going to be a good painting. On another idea is that the highest value contrast will make an eye magnet, as we saw, remember back when we saw the lights and darks. So you need to plan these out. And I think my little value sketches, yes, okay. Thumbnail sketches or value studies. Now this, I divided this paper. I just did this and then I took a picture of it. And to show you how you can design your painting in a little tiny 2x3 inch or smaller area, and it helps you think, and you think, what's the darks and lights? Where, and these, see this arrow? This means where the sunlight's coming, or if you're indoors, where the light source is. And then I changed it around. So here I've got the high contrast here, secondary here. Here it's a little more, little different with the sky is have some more interest. So do your value sketches first. You can plan horizons, you can plan values. Then once you're finished, you keep that in front of, and you've decided which one you like, keep that right in front of you while you do the actual painting and refer to it. So you don't get distracted, because if you're like me, once you get painting, sometimes all your ideas just vanish and you wonder what's happening. This will keep you on track. So back to values and contrast. If you have contrast, it creates clarity. No contrast creates confusion, and you will see paintings out there, and they have potential, but the values aren't strong enough. So if you would squint your eyes, you would hardly see anything. And I'll get to squinting in a bit, because squinting's a trick I learned years ago. All right, we're going to move on to something else with both values and color. Mostly, some, and a bit. And this is worth remembering. And what am I talking about now? Color. There are many systems for developing color schemes for your paintings. Some of these can be very difficult to remember, but you can actually use the one rule of composition, never make any two intervals the same, by using mostly, some, and a little bit. And when you apply this to your color scheme, it will most likely work. Okay, here's a painting that I did. It was, it's now in California. A friend bought it, but I want you to do something. I want you to squint. That means you shut out all the light, so you just see lights and darks. You hardly see any color. So values, you see mostly darks, some middle value, and a bit of light. That's what I mean by mostly, some, and a little bit. And then if you look at color, you see mostly dark grays, some purples, and a bit of orange. You see that? Mostly, some, and a little bit. It makes an interesting painting. Now I can tear this one apart because it's my painting. So I want to show you some things about this. This is a saw wet owl, and this should not be here. I could have moved him just 1 inch over and it would have made a lot better composition. He's centered. His eye, your eye goes there and bang, that's just about in the center. This diagonal branch, it's a little dangerous. It's almost leading you out. I tried to soften it here, but it's still a little dangerous. The values are okay. Again, squint, and at least you see him popping out of the dark. Mostly some and a little bit. I would say mostly middle ground, some light, so a little even between light and dark. But anyway, okay, here's mostly some and a little bit. There's another acrylic I did, and this was one of my fun ones because I actually didn't plan this one out, and I usually plan. I just started painting, but it worked because I ended up with mostly some and a little bit. Mostly it's light. Squint at this and see mostly it's light. And there's some dark and a little bit of medium. And then look at the colors. Mostly green, cool. Some very, very cool with the darker blues, and then bing, a little bit of red. Okay, and it makes it work. Now we're going to move on to portraits and figures. And the appeal of the human figure is its grace, fascinating complexity, and infinite variations. And you can use the one rule of composition: never make any two intervals the same when working with people as primary subjects. All right, we're just going to take, these are sketches that the author Carole Abbate did, just to show you what to do, what not to do. This is considered a boring composition because the head is centered and looking straight toward the viewer. The distance of the face from the top to the bottom and side to side is equal. Don't do this. This is better. She's leaning out a little bit, off center, makes it a little more interesting. This is better, much better. It's a good composition. 3/4 view. The center of interest is right between the eyes and it's at one of the sweet spots. So this is at the sweet spot or this. This again is looking out. It's considered boring because it's right in the center. The eye level is near the horizontal right here. And the subject eye directs your attention, phew, right out off the border. A little better because he's over to the left. It moves his eye a little closer to the sweet spot, and it just makes a more pleasing composition, is less cramped. This is a good close-up. It's cropped, but it generates some interest. The eye now is in the sweet spot. Okay, bad composition. When including the head and shoulders of your sitter, place the head near one of the upper sweet spots. Placing the head right in the center usually leaves dead space above the head. And this is awkward because she's amputated, not good. Here is, again, she's cut off here. The head is in the sweet spot, but it leaves this space here you don't know what to do with. This is better. The head's in the sweet spot. The picture looks balanced because the subject is looking toward the center, activating that part of the composition. This is wonderful. Here you've got a lot of things going on. Main center of interest is the boy's face, and he's looking down at his painting. And then your eye maybe goes here to the hands or down here. But see, you just, and the light hitting the shoulders and the neck. There's a lot going on here. It's wonderful. All right. In conclusion, again, I want to give credit to Greg Albert, author of the book, The Simple Secret to Better Painting, from which I derived the majority of this presentation. And then I encourage you to make posters for your studio. One says, never make two intervals the same. The next is the rule of thirds. And then another one says mostly, some, and a little bit. Your paintings will thank you. And then be sure to check out on Facebook, Woodbridge Art Guild. And my Facebook for my art is called Still Waters Fine Art. That's my stuff. And Waters with an S, Still Waters Fine Art. And so should I stop share? And then there I am. Yay!
Thank you so much. So guys, Carole is willing to take any questions at the end. If there is a piece that you're working on and you have a question about the composition, I'm sure she'd be happy to pick it apart using the rules that she just shared. So if anybody has any questions about the presentation itself and information presented, or if there's a piece that you have, feel free to unmute yourselves at this point for any commentary that you have or any questions.
Carole, there was someone that asked a question that I missed a little earlier, and he asked, why is the neck long in the last third page? I'm not sure. Jeff, if you're still here, if you could maybe clarify which slide we're talking about.
It's a little hard to hear whoever's question that is. If you want to turn up your volume a bit.
Why is the neck long?
Someone asked why the neck is long. I think it was the portrait of the man you were sharing. And you were talking about the composition. It was the man, I think he was facing, it was a profile view.
Okay, right.
I think
I've got it here.
that proportion of his neck was strange or something, if
Oh,
that was
I'm
intentionally.
sure it was, but actually it was just to show the placement of the head itself. And I think that was the main gist of it.
Okay.
Right. Any?
Okay. Oh, that was Jeff's
I
question.
have
He
one.
said okay.
Sure.
Can you see mine?
Who's holding
This
up?
is
This
Patty.
is Patty. She's holding up a landscape.
I can't see it.
Give me 1 second.
She's zooming in on
I
it a
have
little bit.
it's in pencil, so it's, hold on. I don't know how to make it so you can see better. Hold on. Oh, wait. Come on. I'm sorry.
Here it is.
I'm trying. Oh, come on, Patty. I'm not doing very well.
Patty, what if you prop up your picture near your computer and aim it? Oh, there we go. Oh,
I had it.
yeah, right there. Yeah. Carole, can you see that?
Can you enlarge her? Oh, wait, I know. Speaker. Okay, talk to me, Patty, so I can.
Okay, it's a landscape of oh, it's very blurry right now.
No, I see it. I see it. No, that's good diagonals. I like the diagonals. So it's a high horizon. Okay,
Yep.
you need us, and you've got some horses running down there.
Yes, and that's water.
Okay. And the horses would be the center of interest, right? Because
Yeah.
there's both action and they're animals. So that's a
Yep.
really good start. And the trees, I like the way the trees go down. The water will be running. You'd have to make sure those horses stay high contrast so the water doesn't fight them for your center of interest. But that's going to be beautiful.
I know. I can't wait to finish.
Right. No, that's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Carol.
Yep.
Yes.
Hey, does anybody else have any questions?
Nope. I had a question. That was a fabulous talk, Carol. This is Nancy.
Oh, thank you.
It was really fabulous. Thank you so much. It's so helpful for photography as well.
You're right. There's every part of that works for photography.
Yeah. So when you were talking about non-representational paintings needing a main area of interest,
Right.
any tricks on doing that?
Oh, just following the rule of thirds and having a center of interest. So I'm not much into abstract painting, but I would say just follow those rules and play with it until you get something that you think works.
Right. Okay, well, thank you so much. It was really great.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It was great.
Good.
So just so everyone is aware, since this is very informative and there's a lot of information to absorb, we are starting a YouTube channel for the Woodbridge Art Guild. And the idea is for every month, we're going to have a guest artist. And this video right now is being, her lesson is recorded. So it will be put up on our YouTube channel for people to look back on. If you want to review any of the information, if you forgot something and you want to just double check and look back. And next month, we are going to have another guest artist. We're going to have Trevor Youngberg is going to be doing a tour of his home studio. He makes kilns and he does pottery on a wheel. So he'll be doing a demonstration and a tour of his studio. So a potter. And our next meeting for the Woodbridge Arts Guilds, if you are planning to attend via Zoom, is going to be January 19th at 7 p.m. So just a couple heads up, little shopkeeping. And I just wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight, coming virtually. And hopefully we will be doing some of these lessons in person soon. And a special thank you to Carol for being our first artist to do a lesson.
Thank
So it
you.
was
That was fun.
Very nice of her to
Yeah,
volunteer.
well done.
Carol.
Well done.
Thank
It
you
was-
so much, Carol.
Well, thank you all, and thank you, my friends from far, far away and from close.
Yes, thank you all
Thank
for
you.
joining from far away.
Okay, it was
Thank you,
wonderful.
Carol.
You're welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Can I say
Bye,
something,
everyone.
Sam?
Somebody say my name?